What's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end so you can hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. For teenage boys growing up, a lot of times we often observe and try to mimic our environment and what's going on around us. For example, if in your household or neighborhood, you see all the men being professionals, waking up every day, going to work, and taking care of their families, that can sow a seed in the kid's life. This is what men do and what I'm supposed to be. On the flip side of that, you might have a young man growing up in a rough environment. Father not around, only example of a man he has to look up to are the guys in his neighborhood, which could be gang related, drug infested, filled with robbers and killers. Depending where you come from, and even if mom dupes tell you, like, you know it's bad around here, you don't need to be out there, stay in the house. But nowadays, you still have the internet and social media. Some say the Chicago influence of drill rap changed the world. When kids all over started watching Chicago teens the same age as them, and a house full of other teens with guns, rapping gangs, talking about big guns, and sliding on Opps. To make it even more appealing, record labels paid them for it. It didn't take long for drill music to hit many states and even other countries. And the teens in them places wanted it to be known they could be on the same type of time. And their hoods that they was claiming were also active. And unfortunately, in a lot of cities, even mine, a cycle of gang violence and revenge shook families to their core. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to the Bronx, New York, to discuss the story of gang life that came to a fatal end for a 13-year-old Crip after his ops wanted revenge. Back in the summer of 2021, 13-year-old Jerron Elliott, nicknamed J Rip, was trying to find his way in the Bronx. The young man didn't even make it to high school yet, and he had just finished 8th grade. Stated to be popular around his way, a good and loyal friend to his circle, they stated even at that young age, he would wake up early in the morning, text everybody asking like, yo, did you eat yet? How was their mental health? And holler at him if they needed anything or somebody to talk to. Now, for many of us that know anything about the Big Apple, we know growing up in certain boroughs and areas can be rough. And the Bronx has always had a reputation for being dangerous. Jerron had even found himself soaking up what was being put down in his neighborhood, and that was gang life. And at only 13 years old, the teen had already been a Crip for a few years. He had been in and out of trouble, locked up over 11 times, and would often tell his girlfriend at the time, I shouldn't have never joined the gang. I wasn't out. After saying it was back to back, he might lose a friend to the streets. They might get back on his so-called ops. They might lose somebody, but that didn't stop the pain. And that summer, a gang war was brewing. It started when on July 7th, 2021, 19-year-old Tyquil Daughtry, an up-and-coming Bronx rapper that went by the name Ty Swish. Ty was in the opposite gang from Jerron. It's not clear what gang because New York has a lot of homegrown gangs and sub-fractions of bigger gangs. But allegedly, the young men were ops. Around about 11:30 that night, Ty was coming home. He was about to walk into his building. As he entered the door, multiple shots went off. Neighbors called NYPD, who responded to the scene to find Ty suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. He was rushed to a local hospital, but unfortunately, he wouldn't survive his injuries. Police quickly got word it was gang related, and someone waited in the building for Ty to come home and caught him in the doorway. A few days later, Jerron woke up and told his friends he was about to take a walk. As him and another teen walked up the street, seconds later, a car pulled up and a person jumped out shooting. Jerron tried to run inside of a local cafe to duck the shots, but the young man was hit in the chest and leg. Witnesses called police, who responded to the scene, and unfortunately, at just 13 years old, Jerron would pass away from his injuries. Police quickly realized it was gang-related and revenge for the hit on Ty just a few days earlier. As they got word from witnesses, Jerron was allegedly one of the young men at the scene when Ty was shot, but he wasn't the shooter. As police were left putting the pieces together, more retaliation would come. That same night, 16-year-old rapper Ramon Gilmadrano, known by his rap name Rajeez, an alleged member of the 800 YGs or Young Guns. He was on his way to a recording studio in a cab when two individuals pulled up on scooters and opened fire on the team. Police was called to the location, and unfortunately, Ramon wouldn't survive his injuries. His mother spoke out as Ramon's older brother translated what she was saying. She stated she moved the family from Puerto Rico 13 years earlier for a better life, but Ramon got caught up in the Bronx gang politics. She told the news he had got shot before, and he felt it was safer catching cabs instead of walking. But as Ramon's mother was grieving, people in the community alleged he might have been one of the people in the car that did the drive-by on Jerron, and that was retaliation. Still, images of the getaway vehicle was released to news, and while the Bronx realized they had a major gang problem on their hands, it wouldn't take long for the streets to give up some names. The shooter in Jerron's case was a 16-year-old boy who was charged with the hit. Not long after, two other teens was arrested for the hit on Ramon. A 19-year-old and 15-year-old stated to be the shooter. The teen accused of taking Jerron's life was eventually found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. I'm not sure about the two teens accused of taking Ramon's life, and I believe Ty's case went unsolved. Rest in peace to Ty, Jerron, and Ramon. I send my prayers and condolences to their families. It's sad because they all were so young and barely got a chance to live life. I believe all three young men were a part of the Bronx drill scene, which definitely took a violent turn over the last few years. Just like Chicago, when you got teens rapping on each other, saying they killed your homie, putting it in music, it turns to a cycle of retaliation, revenge, and parents burying their kids. Most people who don't understand, coming from certain environments and the culture, usually would say, why not just move or pay more attention to your child? But unfortunately for everyone, it's not that easy to pack up and just go. Whether financial reasons, resources, or just not wanting to leave home. And as parents, you can be on your kids' heels, but once they walk outside in that environment, you don't know what they will get into. Now that I have a son of my own, I can't say I don't worry. Little boys are hard-headed. They don't believe fire is hot until they feel the burn. I was the same way, but hopefully one day our misled youth will wake up. Usually it happens when they get older and live a little more, but unfortunately for a lot of them, they never get a chance to. They fall victim to the streets or a jail cell. But I want to know y'all thoughts about this situation. Leave it in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace, them three young men. I definitely send my prayers to their families. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.